Can you say hard hats, folks? Hard hats, lunch pail, steel toe boots.
Anything short of a championship this year is a failure.
Look at this boomer right here.
You've just got so much talent here.
Somebody said we need to apologize for Jalen.
Can I close it, John? What are we apologizing for? What did we say? What did we do?
What's going on, everybody?
What up? What up? We're back. Another game, another blowout. We have to get used to it, folks.
Is it April yet?
Wake up. The Celtics just won by 20 again.
I have a feeling they're going to start on like a 10-game streak of being up by 20. That's what it feels like. It feels inevitable.
We're going to start getting like the records are going to start like creeping in, like win differential after 10 games, win differential after 20, like how many wins in a row, like blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's going to happen for sure.
Yeah. So we're here. We're here. You know why? Because that's what we do. We do this after every show, after every game. We show up. Sometimes the Celtics don't show up. Sometimes the opponents don't show up. But we show up. And the most exciting thing that's going to happen tonight is we're gonna give you another opportunity at a big getaway. Just kidding, Jimmy. Our big giveaway. This is the tease. I'm not giving you the special code, but you can win a PS5, NBA 2K 2025 edition, and a signed Jason Tatum basketball. When you go to clnsmedia.com/contest, there's a bunch of different things that you can do once you get there. So check out clnsmedia.com/contest. And then later in the show, I'm going to give you a special code that's going to give you an even greater opportunity.
I'm going to start guessing the code now. I'm sure I can guess it.
Jimmy ruins
I'm going to start
everything.
Guessing. I'm just going to start guessing.
So we'll start with your takeaways before we get into anything here, but just setting the stage for it. Celtics win a pretty easy kind of walkover game. And look, this one could have gone a couple of different ways, right? This could have been, they did this last year with the Wizards. They toyed with their food and we saw what happened, before. So there was a fear that they might do something like that, end up in a competitive game and, still be playing hard in the fourth quarter and who knows what happens, or they could win by 80. As it turns out, they took option B, where they built up a 30-something point lead and were like, okay, we're done playing. And that was that. And they didn't even play well. This was a sleepy ho-hum B- C+ effort from the Celtics, who are they don't have to try that hard against a team like this. It's almost impossible to lose. I mean, it's really hard to lose these games. But Noah, anything before we get into the deep dive stuff, like Nemish Queta taking Luke Cornett's job and snatching Bobby's soul all in one shot. Before we get into the deeper stuff and a flash appearance from Baylor Shireman later in the game, your just immediate takeaways from this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think this game showed why this team is going to continue to make records of blowing teams out and being up by 30 and 40 and 50, because they honestly didn't play great today and they were up by 30 at one point. And I feel like it just kind of highlights you only need to have a couple guys feeling it at various points. Like Jason Tatum early on was feeling it, and that was enough to keep them in it. And then Derek White hit a few there. Peyton Pritchard casually had 4 3-pointers in the third quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, Jaylen Brown got his stats up. So that helped, him quite a bit. So I just think it just shows you the depth of this team, that everybody was able to finish with good numbers. And ultimately, like, it's just, I don't know. I mean, I know that this is not a good team, so this is not going to show you all that much, but ultimately, like, this is not going to be it's going to be really hard for anybody to beat this team. Like, so much has to go your way.
This is cruise control. This is like seize control. We're going to have to change cruise control to seize control, because that's kind of what it was. Like you said, Noah, Tatum was kind of the guy early on, had some really nice little step backs in his bag a bit. Feels like he's got all the confidence in the world right now. And then Jaylen Brown in the second half a little bit, like you said, he kind of was able to get his field goal percentage.
I'm going to get mine now. It's my birthday.
Yeah, kind of that sort of thing. This was kind of the game that it didn't really necessarily happen that way, but it was one of those games where I think Brown alluded to it. He's like, there's going to be games where we just kind of let Peyton Pritchard do his thing, and we're not really going to be like caring a whole lot about, getting 30 points and this and that. So it's a lopsided it's a lopsided matchup going into it, and it came that way. Credit Jordan Poole for giving it like a whole first quarter there before he checked
did it.
out. He did what he had to do. He got his numbers, and then
Done.
yeah, that's it.
Did he have 20 in the first? What,
Yeah, 20 like halfway through this second quarter.
He had 17 in the first quarter, and it looked like.
Yeah.
And then John Corrales tweeted like he's going to finish with 25 or something, and then he did. Like it was
Yeah.
just one of those where you can just tell it's a first quarter kind of performance.
Corrales is going to get you like that every time. But so here's what it's so easy to say that, Jimmy, too, the whole cruise control thing. What I like is this with about, it's like you get like those like, I'm going to do one of my analogies now, but those like really good outfielders, and a ball's hit into the gap and they run just as hard as they need to run to be able to get there and catch it in stride. Like that's kind of what the Celtics did. This is about how hard I need to go the whole game, but they kind of did it the whole way. If you look at it, with the exception of Jordan Poole going out of his mind, it was pretty workmanlike. 33 points in the first quarter, 31 in the second, 34 in the third. When their defense finally started to do what they do and the Wizards came back down to earth shooting wise and Poole wasn't hitting everything, what you had was a 31 to 22, second quarter and a 34 to 19 third quarter, and they put the game away. So like that's going to work. Like I have a job to do. I'm going to go here and I'm going to make sure that we don't mess around and turn this into anything it's not supposed to be. And through three quarters, they did exactly that. And they did it kind of doing their thing. Like it's,
right.
Where these games suck for me is when everyone's like, I'm just going to, break down my guy and go. And there was a little of that. There was a little playing with your food and Tatum just trying to, how many of these step backs can I hit? Because he did go on a little run there. And, Jalen, I thought was pretty unserious in the first half, but he didn't need to be. He was just they were just messing around a little. But for the most part, they're still doing their thing. They're working for it. They're passing out of doubles. They're creating open threes. They're getting their looks. And then, it ends up being too much, but it's as much as they needed to do tonight. And it's just remarkable that they're playing. They were okay. They were okay. And they were up 27 points after three. And then they just come out and Jalen bang knocks down 2 threes. That's it. Done. Use the code Lemon Square.
And I think the other guy that's been kind of in the back burner, been playing really well these first 2 games is Derek White, who's just been, seems like he really hasn't missed a beat, like not something that you want to take for granted because last year was kind of a breakout year for him. And then it just seems like this season, he's just right back where he left off. He was efficient tonight. He had 19 points on 6 of 11 shooting, same deal last game. And so, yeah, it's like he can quietly do that. I thought that there was a couple of possessions there where Drew Holiday bailed him out early on where things were kind of broken and he just had some savvy plays drawing fouls. And so, he finished with 7 points, but he did what he needed to do to keep the minute. So, yeah, it's just, I don't know. I feel like I'm watching an all-time great team, and this is just like one of the boring nights. And the other night was one of the more kind of epic nights, but it's just every night is going to be like this.
Yeah, we did it last year too. We hit a point in the season how early last year where it was like nothing matters. Like nothing mattered. That they were playing crappy teams or teams that were either mailing it in or had suffered injuries, and there was just no juice. You basically knew like nothing really, they're going to do this. They're going to get the 14 games up on the 2 seed. So they're cruising to a 1 seed. There's no drama. There was no anything to play for. There's going to be a lot of these games,
right.
And so I'll get into it later. We joke about it because we keep going back to that quote, from Jaylen Brown that might've been perceived as disrespectful about we're so friggin' good. We'll have nights like this where we could play like Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser and let Pritchard just go off against the Detroit Pistons, incidentally, the next opponent on the docket. This was one of those nights too. So, I'm going to quibble with some things. There's nothing to not like about the state of the Celtics. So we're going to nitpick a few things here and say, why would this not be a game? No, so Sam Hauser's out for this game, Noah. Why would this not be an opportunity to just say Jordan Walsh gets all of Sam Hauser's minutes? Go. And you know what? They did it in a different way. They went double big instead, and that's Keita really filled into the Hauser role, and they decided they were going to go with that in terms of rotation, and it turned out great because Keita played. But Keita is someone who's
in the circle of trust to an extent, has earned some minutes before. They're not afraid to play him when they, in certain circumstances. What's it going to isn't this the type of game, and maybe even the next game, the type of game where you want to kind of see, like, yeah, let's just give 20 minutes to Jordan Walsh and let him play with the big boys and see how he goes. Like, it's early in the season yet, but you think that's something that Joe might try to do or not try to do? I don't know, but I wonder whether he should. Like, this might be a game where, like, we're not going to lose anything by playing Jordan, so let's give it a shot.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would have been fine if Jordan had just assumed those minutes and come in the second quarter or even the first quarter when Hauser would have and just play those minutes and we just see how that goes. But I thought it was actually a perfect opportunity to try out the double big, to try out different combinations. They're not going to have that many opportunities, and in reality, that's more important to iron out than whether or not Jordan Walsh can play perimeter minutes, because he's not going to play perimeter minutes for an extended period of time this season as it currently stands. Whereas I do think that Cato, Luke, Xavier Tillman, like those three guys are all going to be a factor and figuring out the combinations and the rotations and who's good with who and all that. And I'm sure it's what they're working on a lot in practice, but I feel like that was a more valuable outcome to come out of tonight, especially with some of the guys that the Wizards have that just, pose some physicalities, a little bit more of a challenge there. So I think if we saw this game 5 times, if Hauser's now out for 2 weeks, I bet there will be a night where it's more Jordan Walsh. But I actually liked that this was this was the approach that they took because of all the bench backup battles. I think the big battle is the one that's the most relevant, just because you have Porzingis, who we know is going to be in and out, and Al Horford, who we know we're going to be resting quite a bit. So it's really just those 3 guys are going to be important. And so you may as well kind of tackle that on from the beginning. Yeah,
this was a Lonnie Walker game right here.
It would have been good for the plus minus of the team because that last group really did not have it going.
No.
Lonnie Walker would have
Don't get
carried.
me started. Don't get me started because that's exactly why I wanted Lonnie Walker on this team, because there's nobody on that last group that can freaking hit a shot.
Well, normally Pritchard stays on with that group and keeps things running, but once he comes out, those guys, it's really brutal what happens.
Lonnie Walker breaks the 3-point record for the Celtics in game 1.
Yeah, probably.
I can share that. What was I going to say? Oh, just about Walsh. I think listen, like you said, John, they did go to Keita instead, but I haven't seen enough from Walsh where I'm like, why isn't he playing 15, 20 minutes a game? Like, I'm not really even there yet. So it's not that big of a deal for me to not see him in there. I think there's going to be plenty of these games where he's going to get an opportunity, more so on the back end when the lead is up to where it is. But I don't think they consider Walsh a guy that's going to come into any serious situations right now. And I think there's going to be few and far between of those situations based on the way the Celtics team looks. I just don't see a ton of like late game execution style games. I mean, there will be, like, we're only 2 games in here, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is Walsh is going to get his opportunity. I don't think there needs to be a rush to get him in there. Oh, there's, Hauser saying, let's get Walsh, the first guy off the bench.
I want to be clear. I do not. I am not. I am not bullish on Walsh. Like, I'm not advocating for the minutes by any means. This isn't one of my Romeo Langford crusades. Like,
thank God.
Is that a crusade for you?
Oh my really. God!
I didn't know that about you.
Oh, there's like tons of video footage of John.
He's at a loss of words.
Yeah,
it's nuanced. It's way more nuanced than that. On that team that I thought was garbage and going nowhere, but Celtics fans can't accept that, and we're still holding out hope. We're still holding out hope that Tristan Thompson was going to lead us to the promised land. I was like, on this garbage team in a lost season, why are you not playing Nesmith and Romeo just to see what they have, even if they stink?
You threw Nesmith there for the credibility.
He did. No, yeah. you were pumping Langford way more than Nesmith. We were all saying play Nesmith.
Both.
I'll tell you why they didn't play him. The same reason.
But I'm not a Walsh guy. I don't think he's ever going to be that guy. I was just kind of curious, but Baylor Shireman is someone who I think later in the year, if you drafted him, in the first round, you want to see if he plays. I do want to see opportunities. Like, I'd say, games, when you get 30, 40 games into the season, he's gotten acclimated a little bit and maybe gotten some garbage minutes and practice with these guys a little bit more. Give him the Drake May treatment. Make sure that he's learning behind the scenes. Start to throw him into the fire a little bit in a Hauser absence, or if a Tatum sits on second of a back-to-back and this and that. I want to see that. I don't think early. I do think you were worried a little bit about night night 2 hangover. You're jacked up. You get that big win against the Knicks. You've got the banner, all of that stuff. It easily could have been a letdown. So I get why they acted. They took it seriously because they should. Missoula kind of talked about that very thing. I think we got a soundbite out of Washington. Bobby Manning is there, by the way. We will get Bobby on the show before it is all over. And we're also going to give you that secret code, the getaway giveaway code. Here's Joe Missoula.
Yeah, I mean, I expected a little bit of just, because of coming off of such a high that the emotion was just going to take us a little bit to settle in. I think, and you add in the speed of Washington playing, them on the first game, their first game of the season, their first home game. They play with tremendous speed. I think it just took us a little while to get acclimated to the speed of the game.
There you go. John's muted. Can't hear you, bud.
Should the Wizards be allowed to exist?
No, they really shouldn't.
I just want to say I went from a season of covering WNBA teams. That was the most pathetic crowd I've seen all year of covering all these different teams. It's like you have an empty arena in a major U.S. city, and then the people that are there are all in green.
Opening night against the defending champs.
That was their opening night?
This is their first game against the defending champs, and they came out like this with that. Oh, my God.
I actually, in 8th grade, I went to a Celtics, not a Celtics game. It was Wizards. We were in 8th grade. Like, we would go to D.C. this is a stupid story now, but basically I went to Washington, D.C. to watch them play. And Michael Jordan, this how long I'm dating myself. Michael Jordan was on the Wizards. And he didn't play. It was like towards the end of the season. He didn't play. And the place just was a freaking ghost town. It hasn't been, and I don't think there's been a good season since. And that was 20 freaking years ago. 25
I don't get
years
why. It's not an empty city. Like there's I don't understand. I
It's
guess
all
there's a lot of
politicians.
transplants too. Yeah, that's true.
No, DC's a sports town. And you gotta give them something. You can't go dormant. Look at what's happened.
I don't know if DC is a sports town, but it's like the whole area, right? It's like
the area,
Maryland.
Of course. People are into that stuff. Right. I mean, for sure. But you can't.
Although it does seem like they have a little bit of a direction now. Like they are actually going young. They're playing those
couple
guys.
rookies
so, like,
starting the.
There was a couple years there where it was like not even clear if they were rebuilding or just hovering or whatnot.
Yeah, no man's land. The Beal years is kind of like, what am I doing with this expensive talent here? And then finally they obviously pulled the ripcord on that and they're off and running. So we'll see what happens. But I don't like it when Jimmy's grinning like that. It's usually a bad sign. But like Jimmy, look at what's happened. Look at what's happened in Boston with the Red Sox after like 5 years of us just being pissed off. We're like, we're done. I'm never watching another game again.
Out, though.
These guys have been doing this for a while. In Washington, but it's not a serious team, it makes me sad having to play them. It really just bums me out.
It's such a bad matchup game. Like if you got those tickets, like in Boston,
Big Kess went to the game.
Season ticket holders giving those ones away. Oh, there we go. Kess is a fan, but see, he's one of the guys in green there.
Big Kess down there in green.
Yeah. I was in DC last
Kess.
year, and the environment wasn't bad because it's a lot of enthusiastic Celtics fans. It's just bad for the Wizards. But it's like it was actually pretty cool because you had a lot of people that were like, "Oh, I finally get to see the Celtics once this year. I came from Maryland or wherever else, And so it wasn't depressing in there. It was just I did feel for the home squad.
Kess, get in on that PS5 for your boys and the Tatum basketball. Okay, get in on it. Get in on that action. We'll tell you about it in a little bit. So
I think he was saying the boys, like meaning the Celtics players, those boys.
Oh, his boys look good, but I think he said he went with his fam. Anyway, regardless, not a ton of juice off this, but again, nice to see the momentum carry over with Tatum, whose shot looked good early, and again, he was getting to his spots, getting whatever he wanted there, which was great. But, a couple things, again, we will look at here. The Al Horford factor, it's impossible to ignore. I find like this, if you went back and looked at the box score, I think you'd see these a lot with Al. Anything on a big minute, the game after a big minute game was always a down game for Al. And again, consciously, I think they tried to play him fewer minutes tonight. He came out after 20, and they had enough of a lead, even though some starters were still playing. And he did not come back in. but it was bad. I mean, he was part. It's hard to be bad against the Wizards.
17.
Everybody else around him was playing great. It wasn't that, but you got the slack got picked. I'm not crapping on Al. Say Al didn't have a great game, and Al's going to have these games. You see those goose eggs in his box scores from time to time where he's just not a factor offensively. I always hate it when he's not even getting the shots up either. In this case, he had a couple of sloppy plays, a turnover, but the slack got picked up. The guys who came in his absence were outstanding, and that was both Tillman and Keita. Yeah. But the Al thing I don't love, like I said, is I don't love it. This is like I don't love having him. This is why Bobby advocated for Garnett starting.
You really think it had to do with him playing on?
He's afraid of the Al minutes, the too many Al minutes, a little bit. Yeah.
What do you mean? Do you think Al hurt them tonight?
Nope. I think Al
wasn't
there.
Wasn't much coming out. Yeah, non-factor.
It was fine.
He was just kind of there.
Sometimes I think when he gets 2 shots like tonight, it's more of a reflection of how the offense is running a little bit. Like, so, he can be a good indicator of how the team is moving the ball because he should be getting some open threes. And I don't think it's necessarily always on him. Like, I'd have to rewatch some of that as well. But I do think that like there just weren't a lot of assists today. And there can be a correlation too between just the.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I think a lot of times when they have these crap teams and Tatum and Brown are kind of doing their thing, he's just an odd man out. It's not necessarily a reflection of his poor play, but you're looking at the management of the minutes here. They definitely tried to keep him down a little bit. I think that's something they're going to look for. But again, encouraging that what we got out of both Keita and Tillman, who knocked down 2 threes, was it tonight for Xavier? Yeah. 3 or 4. He knocked down 2 threes. Bobby was crapping on him on the chat.
Bobby said he was only going to hit like 30% of his threes this year. So
Bobby has him at 30% for the year. That's his over under for Tillman. Yeah. What do you think, Noah?
No, I think he'll be like 35.
Yeah.
That's my take. Yeah. I mean, I have to say, I feel like I tweet this a lot, but there are a few players that shoot as well as him in warm-ups, which I know is not real basketball, but like I do watch him every single game in practice. And I think that he has like the mechanism in place, and he practices all these drills where guys are passing to his feet and to the sides and all that. And he seems to have a really smooth shot. So I don't know. He says he's been working hard on it. He said he feels confident. The one that he missed today made me feel like he was not 2 for 3 because it was off the side of the backboard. But I think he'll be good this year. I think he'll be able to. And they're not going to be very contested threes either. Like he's going to shoot them when he's wide open.
Are we going to see Tillman take some of the Al role? I mean, is he kind of like the new Al? No, not the new Al, but you know what I'm saying. Like
that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to simulate Al Horford. 80% of Al Horford, I think, is what you're hoping for out of Tillman. A switchable big, and they want him to be able to camp out in that corner and keep the floor spread, and then take and hopefully make, as Noah said, up to 35% of those threes. That's their dream scenario with Tillman. So you don't put him in there and he clogs the whole offense because he can't shoot, nor will he attempt to shoot anything.
You would take this every game, right? If I said,
oh my God,
take it or leave it, you would take this every single game. 15 minutes. I mean, there's the other half of Al's minutes right there, right? Al had 20 tonight. So he's cutting into those minutes. He's efficient, 3 for 4. You don't need him to take 10, 12 shots a game. There's not enough shots to go around for him like that. And he made him count. I mean, if he can hit 1 3 a game and make opponents honest, and again, that's just another guy on this squad coming off the bench that you have to pay attention to, and you can't just leave him alone. So I think it was about as good of a performance as you can expect to see from Tillman. Now, the one thing I'll say about Tillman, when he came to Boston, I thought we were getting somebody who looked a little bit more athletic out there than what I'm not saying he's not athletic, but physical, cut his way to the hoop, can kind of move a little bit faster. So I'm wondering if he's still working on his mobility out there a little bit. I don't think the difference between him and Al is that he's obviously way younger, and Al's game is now shifted to a lot more on the outside, right? The 3-point line, whereas Tillman should be able to, he should be able to drive. He should be able to be physical. He should be able to, use his body and kind of pound down low a little bit. So I'm still waiting to see that a little bit more from Tillman.
Yeah, I don't think he's super athletic. I think
I know.
There was definitely a level of
looked like he
like
was.
His knees were bothering him last year, but I don't know. All playoffs, like you'd be before games, he'd be coming out of the tunnel, and it's like he was kind of limping onto the court.
Kind of
that was the
lumbers, right?
He is 42
I was like,
years
how is
old.
this guy? No, he's like, I was like, how is this
No,
guy?
but he
younger
looks,
than me?
he has the affect of like a 41-year-old
I
guy.
know.
He's what,
Easy.
26, 25?
Easy. Yeah.
He just has it, and it's like he has all these kids, like they're all running around. It gives you the impression, but
He's got
definitely when he
11
walks-
kids.
No, okay, I think
This
there's
is
three.
actually
I'm
his
just
third
saying he's
job,
younger than
yeah.
me, so that's why it's just jarring.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. He does. He works 9 to 5, in a factory
He works police
before, and
detail
he's
after
he's
games.
dog tired. He's dog
Yeah.
tired when he gets to the court.
He's like,
So we'll see. I mean, I don't know how much of it is the knee thing
I
too.
think he's
because
directing
that
traffic
obviously-
after the game.
It limited him, and then he had surgery just a few months ago. So it's possible as the year goes on, he'll look a little bit more sporadic.
You know what it
and
is,
a
Noah?
little bit quicker.
I'm a big YouTube highlight reel guy, and so I think I got caught up in one of them, and I just saw a guy that was just jumping through the roof.
Well,
That's
yeah,
Really?
it was
That's
like
on me, though.
Luke Cornett's 3-point shooting mixtape.
Yeah,
when
it
he
was like
first
the
came here.
viral Luke over the summer.
Yeah,
that
everyone's like,
kinda
"Oh my
went
God,
around.
this guy's amazing." But switching from him to Keita, and again, you can count on 1 through 5 being what they're going to be every single night. So there's almost no point to talk about Tatum and Brown and everything they did tonight. They were good. Keita was good, was really good, and so I'll ask you this:
He's
Noah,
got that
because
dog in him.
what is the thing? What is preventing Keita from? I'm not always going to make this. I'm not always going to make a good Keita game and a bad Luke. I'm not even going to make it every time. I don't like to play
We
this.
will a lot, though. We will.
We do, but I don't do it. It happens organically. I hate turning this into Keita had a good game. Should he replace Luke? But my question is, everyone sees someone like Keita and thinks that there might be more of a ceiling there because he can jump a little bit. He's a little bit more athletic. There's some stuff he can do. Grab those offensive rebounds, which is great. And then you see this game, you're like, I love it. He's going to play more, right? And then he won't. And then he won't at all. Or the next time he plays, he'll look like dog shit, and then you won't see him again. What's preventing him from being like a regular guy here?
No, I don't think that he's gonna be. I don't think it's a him versus Luke thing, as you said, but I also think that the main issue with Keita is that he makes mistakes. Like he just does. And it's on a team where they really don't make mistakes. And that's what we talked about it last game too. But even tonight, I loved what I saw from him. I'm high on him. I think that he's going to be a good NBA player, but there were a couple moments that he made the wrong move in a defensive rotation that I don't think Luke would have made the wrong play. And just because he just has a really high IQ defensively. That's kind of what has set him apart, I think. That's what got me earlier, but I need to stop pointing at those comments.
I figured.
It's like the humor of a 9-year-old, and I'm dying.
Every time you smile, I go back looking for a Luke Cornett comment.
I don't know what it is. It's like the first time I saw it, it got me.
But
I never got over it.
It's like, why'd you do me like that, John? He's like, it's like sensitive Luke in the comments. He's never angry.
No, he's never angry. It's Luke. Have you ever seen Luke angry?
Oh man,
the bit's been continued for so long.
Yeah, it's been going on for a year.
Yeah.
These are our viewers.
This is Luke.
Keita kind of gives me. What's that?
No, what I was gonna say though was, I do think that when Keita shows you flashes of free points, when he gets an offensive rebound that nobody else on the team was going to get and then immediately puts it back, those are just free points that the Celtics wouldn't otherwise have. There should be another category besides your plus minus, points that you just stole, because he does have a few of those every game. And so whether or not that makes up for a couple of mistakes, probably in the regular season it does, but in the playoffs, you just can't afford. So I think they're going to want to play him a lot this season and then see if he can handle it. That's my understanding of the situation.
It's very much the Rob Williams principle. It's always been, but I hate, it's not a comparison to the type of player, because Rob Williams, during the height of his powers was supernatural in terms of what he did. But it was the same argument that was being had. It was Rob makes mistakes. He's slow to rotate or to recognize things. He gums up the offense sometimes by not really knowing what to do and messes with the spacing. Obviously, he can't shoot, so that kind of throws off your flow. But also he does things that no human being on the planet could do. So you talk about not just free plays, but it's free points. It's the balls that he could tip out because he could get it and keep a possession alive, the lob threat, all of those things. He was so freakish. And then the same thing defensively with the challenge that he would do. It's
can't you live with it? Like when does the Keita thing outweigh the negative? When do those plus plays outweigh the negative there? Because you can live with it, and like this happens all the time. Like we're on the text thread, and Bobby will point out, he's like, a couple nice buckets by Keita, but then he got cooked by Kuzma. I'm like, yeah, but I was like, don't people get scored on from time to time? Like you get a big out in space on a switch, and he's got to defend at the perimeter, and someone like Kuzma takes it to the bucket. He's at a disadvantage. Look what happened to Towns last game. You know, so like obviously that's not going to be something that anybody. I mean, I don't think Luke
gets scored on all the time too.
Out there. Yeah, it happens. So like, what is it that what is the thing there? Yeah,
they're good. Like they're good opposites in a way, because Keita is like you said, he's kind of like Rob in a way where he can just do random freak things, but he's also a little bit slow. He's kind of like clumsy out there. I feel like in his day-to-day life, like he like knocks things down and doesn't even realize it. I mean, it's just following him, picking things up. Like that's just kind of how I picture Keita's life going. He's not like the most put together guy. Like I can just kind of see him fumbling things around. You know what I mean? But he's a massive human being, and he's you know, he kind of has that little athletic streak in him, and yeah, all of a sudden he's going out for ripping down offensive rebounds. You know, so I like what he has to the team. It's different than what Luke gives you. You know, like Luke's more of a heady player, right? He's got a little bit more. I don't know. I can't believe I'm saying this, but a little bit more touch. And Keita's more of like just like the physical presence, and there are moments where you're like, damn, this dude Keita can kind of instill his will on people down there. So I think he's got that dog in him a little bit. I'll be honest. I think he's a hard hat guy. Honestly, I think he's going to be wearing the hard hat a lot this year.
I like them all. No agendas. I actually don't care who plays, because I think they're all doing their jobs right now. So I don't have any problem with it there. And I don't think it's like last year it became like a big fan crusade here every time that this happened. I think everyone has settled into, we're okay with Luke now. We don't have to yell about how bad he is all the time and start demanding that someone else play. But it's like, to me, it's like you talk about like, you know, the free plays or the stolen money or free money that to me, getting a player who's an impact player that you didn't expect to win is always what I would look at there. It's like, you know, how do you find your Max Strus out of nowhere, or your whatever? Like, if you get one of these guys, all of a sudden Keita's like, this guy's legitimately, you kind of just want to see if you have more. You're pretty solid. I think that's the allure with a player like Keita. You're pretty solid on what you have with Luke, but you're wondering is like, is Keita kind of like baby Rob? That would be awesome. And if that's the case, like maybe you can utilize that. It's just another weapon at your disposal if you have it, versus who's going to fight for those 8 third center minutes, you know, 8 to 10 third center minutes, which is pretty inconsequential on a team like this, who has so much going for it. They don't need, it makes no difference really who fills that role. So there's not really like a controversy.
Well, it's going to be, because we're going to be seeing a lot of these guys, it sounds like, if the Celtics are going to keep going up by 25 points. So I might as well see some people who can freaking play.
Yeah, it is.
I think the real question is, do either of them gain enough trust this season to warrant real playoff minutes if need be? Because as much as Luke had a wonderful season last year, he wasn't really used in the playoffs. And so Al really carried a big load, and that was a huge reason why they were able to win, is because Al handled it. Al was able to withstand those heavy minutes. And they won series in 4 and 5 games. And so they're never really, you know, if they didn't go to 7, I don't know how Al would have fared if every series had gone to 6 or 7. And so I think the question for the season is, do either of them show that they can play playoff minutes? And with Keita right now, it's like those mistakes have to cut down. And I have to rewatch this game, because I can't say on first watch that I was able to gauge like how many mistakes he made, because like you said, John, like people get scored on. It's basketball, especially in the NBA right now. It's like, I feel like, you know, even good defense you get scored on. But I do think that's going to be the big thing for him, is just getting closer to Luke, at least, as far as that goes.
Yeah, it's game 2 of the regular season. So obviously, you know, how much, you know, juices are going to be here defensively here, you know, 2 out of 82. And also, you know, it's the Wizards. So everything is a little bit, you know, skewed here. But I do want to get into a couple of other things, and then we're going to welcome Bobby on in a little bit. He's in the locker room right now. We're going to hear from Peyton Pritchard as well. A couple of things we're going to talk about. First off, we want to tip our hat to a couple of our sponsors, and the giveaway and the code is coming. So sit tight, but we're going to start off with Prize Picks, our #1 daily fantasy sports app here.
And let me see if I can find that there's our little graphic. Check out Prize Picks. If you haven't already signed up, you should sign up today. You get a special deal. You see it right there at the bottom. But again, America's #1 daily fantasy app, over 10 million members, billions of dollars awarded in prizes. Pick more, pick less. 2 players shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. As we said, get in on the action anytime. Hoops, I think, is my favorite to get in on. I know our boy, director of sales, Guy Neer, jumped on the Peyton Pritchard more tonight. Yeah, and he got that bang, 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 bang with all of the threes. We're going to hear from Peyton Pritchard in a little bit. So hats off to Guy Neer, who's loving his Prize Picks.
How about Judah?
This week we've got some. We had some football ones. Justin Jefferson was a hot one for this week, and then Tyreek Hill also 97. That's a lot for Tyreek Hill. I don't know if I'm going to get down on that until Tua comes back. I'm not getting in on that. But like we said, check out Prize Picks. It's great. You bet 5, you get 50 in your wallet right away. It's all you have to do. So once again, run your game with Prize Picks and get on the action. The other sponsor we want to talk to you about is Game Time. We love ourselves some Game Time, and as we said, you can go check out the Drake May versus who's a better quarterback today. Noah, are you a football fan?
Not at all.
Okay, so you answer this.
I can't answer any questions on other sports.
You answer this. This question's just for Noah. Drake May or Aaron Rodgers today?
Who's a better quarterback today?
At this moment.
Drake May.
There you go. Correct. Drake May versus Aaron Rodgers. You want to go check it out, Gillette Stadium? Go check it out right now. Jump in on Game Time, all-in pricing, and a great view from your seats when you check it out there. Do we have a little lower third? Little graphic we can put up on the screen there with the URL. There it is. You download that app, you use the code CLNS, you get $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. Your favorite show, your favorite concert, whatever you want to do here, your favorite game. Celtics will be back in town next week, so you want to be able to get in and check out the champs. It's not going to be as expensive as it was when they were raising the banner, which was a great experience that we all got to see. All of us got to see. That was great. Everyone except Nick. But that was a lot of fun. So check it out.
As I said, in 59. So
yeah, he did. Yeah, I think they let him pull the strings.
He was the leprechaun on the rafters.
He's in there. Use the code CLNS, $20 off your first purchase. All right, Amit, bring us back. We're going to talk about the giveaway. Dun dun dun.
Ooh. Okay, let me get my phone out.
Okay, the giveaway. First, we're going to tell you what you can win. Here it is. All of this stuff. Check it out. You don't need music.
Yeah. Really?
PlayStation 5. That's what that is. That's a video game. NBA 2K. Absolutely. Check that out. Uh-oh. Jason Tatum. Who likes Jason Tatum?
That basketball is going to be worth more and more every game at this rate.
Autographed basketball. You can win it all if you go to, I need this to move a beat faster. Bang! CLSmedia.com/contest. There's a QR code. It's a little small, but it's okay. We're going to put the URL up on the screen. CLSmedia.com/contest. You go in there. There's a bunch of different ways to get a ton of entries. QR code. Check it out. And then right here, we're going to show you. Ahmed, hit him with the code.
Hit him with the code. Bang. Garden 25. Hold on, let me Garden 25. Use the secret code Garden 25. That's 25,000 extra entries at clnsmedia.com/contest. So go ahead, check it out. I'll leave it up on the screen because you go now. Go to clns.com/contest and go in. There's a bunch of different things that you can do there to get a shot at the prize. But if you enter this code, you get 25,000 extra entries. Obviously, if you're watching now, you've got the code. Anybody who's watching on repeat, you don't have to do it just now and live. This code is active right now through to the next game. So do not tell anybody the code.
Don't tell anybody. Urge them to watch the show to get the code. That's how it works. You guys earned it. Make them put in the work too. Okay.
Yeah. So if your friends text you, hey, I didn't get to watch the show, sorry, buddy, you don't get the code. You don't get 25,000 entries, which is a lot of entries.
Yeah.
the guy that we hired to count these entries has been working around the clock since Monday, and he's about to get hundreds of thousands more. So
Yeah.
it's unbelievable.
Jimmy, I will tell you right now, don't listen to Jimmy. Jimmy is not allowed to win. If Jimmy wins, we're going to give it to second place, just so you know. Okay.
I've got a few different usernames going at once here. So good luck. I'm working all the.
We need your address is what we need here.
True.
So anyway, so we're back here with the Celtics and the Wizards. And again, there's not a ton of juice off of this game, but I do think what's really interesting is kind of how the I hate doing this. I hate the narratives and I hate pushing back against what the mean national people with their anti-Boston agendas are saying about our beloved Celtics, because whatever, there's no anti-Celtics bias, but there's an I don't like these guys for some reason bias, or I'm bored by them, or I need to stir up the pot. And I would say among the more ridiculous conversations that's been had in the sports media debate landscape was apparently everybody freaked out that the Celtics shot 61 threes in game one, and then decided that they might need to change NBA rules because it's not fair and it's boring and the Celtics ruined basketball. Is this what we're going to do? Are we doing this all year? Is this it?
Yep.
It's just so ironic because I feel like that conversation would have made more sense like 3 years ago or 4 years ago, and this became more mainstream with the Warriors. And then just the last few years, that's every single basketball game you watch is just 3-pointers, and that's the end goal. And so I think the Celtics have just perfected it. So maybe it bothers people that they see how well it works and how difficult it is if you don't have the personnel. Like I actually was thinking after the first game, like how many teams actually have the personnel to even try to outshoot the Celtics? Like there's a handful that even have a chance at that. And so I guess maybe that realization bothered people who want there to be a chance for everybody, but there's not. So
this is
you gotta
the
come back
biggest
next year with a better team.
This is like parents complaining, like
I felt that way. Yeah.
it really is. It's like, it's not fair. My kid doesn't get to, that kid's so big. He shouldn't be playing at this level. He should be playing up, like it's like now they've gone from overrated to unfairly good is the dumbest thing I can't, but like Nick Wright in all seriousness was like, you have to change the rules. This is ridiculous. Like, as you said, Noah, this 3-point revolution has been going on for a long, someone put in the comment, like, don't tell them about the early 2010 Warriors. This has been going on for a long time. And in fact, one of the most exciting teams in the history of the NBA was that Golden State team that was just raining threes from whatever. What's the biggest phenomenon in sports right now? Caitlin friggin' Clark and her ability to shoot these logo threes and wow people with it. But this is bad and it's boring and it's ruined the game. And I know Nick's in the chat right now and he's friggin', pulling out his 1958 box scores, but I don't.
3 points is more than 2 points. It's really not that difficult. So
we have to do better than this, right? What Noah said is 100% right. It's not that people are doing it. It's that the Celtics are doing it so exceptionally. They finally got there. They perfected it. They have guys on the court who are all
3-point shooters
capable. No, but they're capable of doing everything.
I think the difference between the Celtics team and previous teams is that part of what people like about 3-point shooting is that some people can do it. Like Ray Allen was a 3-point shooter when there weren't that many, and Caitlin Clark can shoot threes the way that no other woman in college could. And so I think maybe what people are getting desensitized is that it's like everybody on the Celtics can shoot threes. It's not like one guy will wow you with their 3-point shooting. It's like they all can, and it's Tatum and Jalen, they can both do, and then Pete Pritchard and Hauser off the bench. And that's where the game is evolving. It's like you really have to have 5 shooters out there, or at least 4. And so that's a larger conversation around the NBA, and probably they will move the line back one day, even though the corners, I don't know what you do with the corners, but that's where I think the frustration is coming from, is that it's not just like Curry and Clay, which everybody was like, they're the sharpshooters, and it's just those two, and then nobody else can shoot. It's like now it's like no matter who comes in, they're hitting threes, and this is just like it's just too what's the word, like the same across the board. And I think that kind of, what's the word for that? Uniform?
Uniform. That's a word.
I'll
Yeah.
get it like in 4 hours probably. But yeah, that's the idea. Is I think that kills people's excitement a little bit about it.
Well, it kills your excitement if you're a fan of the other team because it's nonstop. It's just one after the other after the other, and it's not just shooting threes. It's making the right pass and finding the wide open guy. It's making the extra pass. It's getting out in transition. It's not like they're just hoisting up these wild shots and hoping that they go in. They're working the ball around. Even tonight, like we saw it again with the Wizards. They tried to double Tatum. Celtics whipped the ball around and they got a wide open Derek White right in the corner. That's just what's going to happen when you try to double, or if you focus, or if you lose focus on these guys standing at the 3-point line, they're going to take the shot and they're going to be 45% from three.
I find this take from Louise sound, and it kind of goes against what Noah had said, where before it was a novelty, right? That one person could do it, now everyone could do it. But I do think that, like, if you're watching in like in a high tension sort of moment, it's like, it's almost like, and again, using another cross sports analogy, but with baseball, once upon a time, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, whatever, the hitters 7 through 9 in a lineup just couldn't catch up to a good fastball. When you got to that end of the order, it was just automatic outs. It didn't matter. A good pitcher was going to blow those guys away every single time. It's better when lineups can hit 1 through 9 and you have to like work and it's more stressful. It's kind of the same thing here. And especially if you think about it in a competitive, situation where in the playoffs where it matters is high tension, knowing that you have to defend everything, as they say, every blade of grass, like you have to be everywhere all the time. And the teeniest slip up can be, you can play 22 seconds of outstanding defense and just get lost on a screen or watch somebody slip out or whatever, and the whole thing is gone. I think it's great. Like the sports is about pressure above beyond everything else. The Celtics are putting enormous pressure and strain on a defense. That's exciting. You know what I mean? Is like, I don't understand why people think it's so ridiculous and monotonous. Like, you're battling to not allow them to do this, and it's really frigging hard to do. I find that to be entertaining. It's not about which shot is being taken. It's the battle. You have to really, really work your ass off to keep the Celtics from getting their shots up. That's what's lost in all this. It's not just the making. It's that their ability to run an offense where they're going to be able to constantly create these looks it's honestly art. So I find it so strange that people are bemoaning this. I think they're just putting it all in one bucket. Like, it's a lot of threes and just looking at the numbers or whatever. I actually think it is entertaining to watch, and especially like how hard it is for a team to figure out how to counter it. And that's this is all sports. This is how it goes. A team figures out something, cracks a code, they get a hack. And again, cross sports reference. You see it in football all the time. The Dolphins running all of these motion plays and this and that, and everybody has to figure it out. It's time for the league to figure it out and stop freaking whining. I think it's all of it. I think it's ridiculous.
It's sour grapes.
It's weird, man.
I mean,
it's
the
weird.
Celtics stacked. Listen, Brad Stevens made some really good roster decisions over the last few years. He got guys that ended up being way better than people anticipated. And now they're stacked. It's really that simple. So anyone crying and moaning and bitching about it should just turn off the TV or just find something else to watch for the rest of the year, because this is what it's going to be. The Celtics aren't doing anything that they weren't allowed to do.
That's how I felt with the Warriors, honestly, though. Like, people were bored by the Warriors. And I was in high school at the time, and I was like, I would be like, when I'm doing my homework, I'm going to watch the Warriors, because it was literally like listening to music. That's how it felt like. It was just, from a basketball standpoint, it was magical.
I thought the Warriors ushered us out of a dark period of basketball.
The Warriors were unreal. Yeah. I mean, John, it's still unbelievable that LeBron was able to come back from a 3-1 against that Warriors team and win that. That's something that he doesn't get enough credit for. But the Warriors, that team, that put basketball on the map for a lot of people, a lot of young kids, the Curry jerseys. I mean, John, when we were working at NBC Boston, when the Warriors came to town, we went live, I think, like 45 minutes before the game, just so that we could watch them shoot around.
We had a live Curry cam.
Yeah, we had
warming up running through warmups. We had a Curry cam, and we just kept it in the box just so people watch him go through his warmups and shoot his 40-foot threes and stuff. And that was so friggin' compelling. We just kept popping into Curry cam with him warming up. So yeah, it was a phenomenal. But they pulled us out of darkness. That was the NBA was dragging ass a little bit. I mean, I think LeBron helped. Usher in a new wave there, but those Warriors, they completely like revitalized basketball again. So it's strange that now it's the worst thing that's ever happened. I don't fully get it.
It's the Celtics. It's because it's the Celtics. That's really what
maybe Noah's right in the sense that now everyone can do it, and it's been happening for so long. Maybe people are just kind of like, I don't know, mix it up. But I'm definitely a bit of a loss at I couldn't believe when I got home from all of that and we finished our show and I went and I looked on Twitter and this was like the reaction here. But let's bring in Bobby Manning as well, who was in Washington. And Bobby, what's going on? You were just in the locker room talking to the Celtics. What's the vibe from tonight?
Bobby.
Yeah, they were glad to get out of here. Almost got caught off guard in this one, and fortunately they caught themselves. I'd say probably about like 7-8 minutes into the first, and found different lineups that they could get to with Hauser out. I definitely thought that hurt them. That him being out tonight. I mean, Joe's sent a lot of respect to the Wizards. Said he thinks that's a good team, that was able to hurt them in different ways with the speed, especially. So he thought it was a threat there, and they couldn't hit shots. That was the biggest thing. And the Celtics ended up getting back to about that league average level after falling behind in the 3-point volume early. And I got a little worried that they were just going to start launching threes to catch up, but there was a good mix of transition, good mix of Jalen breaking guys down. I thought he was great after some early uneven possessions from him in this game. So double big worked. I wanted to see some wings come in and replace Hauser, but they got great minutes from Keita on offense, and Tillman continues to work at that spot too. So that's the way they're going to go. They're going to play big. They're rarely going to go small, it looks like. And unfortunately, my guy Walsh is in the stay ready crew still.
We talked about Walsh a little bit.
Up a bench spot tonight, though. I think I saw that.
Yeah, I guess he just doesn't have the trust yet. And if you're a Keita fan, it's great to see him out there gaining trust. Derek said that he sometimes thought he was overthinking out there last year, and just things were moving a little too fast for him. And now it looks like he's just out there playing and gets pretty much every rebound he felt like, and looked for him at a lob later in this game as well. I thought Keita brought a nice element to this game, despite his defense still not being quite there yet. You have to be pretty excited about how good he looked on offense in this one. It's just I know you compared it to Rob a little bit, right, John? Not quite to that level. But
I hate doing it because people are like, Rob can do all of these things better. He's not Rob, but it's the same conversation, which is the good that he brings that no one else brings, does it outweigh the missteps and the bad? Noah's smiling again. Is Luke in the chat? In the comments?
I just switched from the comments to the private chat, so I'm not distracted anymore. So I'm no longer reading the chat.
Hey, Bobby.
There was a healthy discourse in there.
If you're a Keita fan, who's not a Keita fan? I'll ask you that.
I don't know. Someone will have to let me know. I'm a Keita fan.
How hard was that to say? How hard was that? The chat wants to know.
I've said going way back that I am not I was so excited when they signed him. I was a fan of his in Sacramento. So I am not a Keita pessimist or hater, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, Keita hater.
Bobby, did they do anything for Jalen's birthday?
There's room for both of them, obviously. I mean, we gave Jalen the night off from press conferences. What's a better gift than that?
Wow, what a guy.
Yeah. Are they going out in D.C. tonight for Jalen, or are they coming home?
I don't know if they're flying. They're not going home. They're going to Detroit next. But I don't know if they're sticking around here another night. They might be going. They usually go right to the next city. But Washington's not the worst city to spend your birthday. He already had a party, though, I think, a couple of nights ago before they went on the road trip. So they might just keep it moving and try to not get caught off guard by the Pistons. I don't know. Were you concerned at all early in this one, John?
I was only concerned if they played like they were pretty unserious, like you could tell in the beginning just in terms of defensive intensity, but also Poole was just hitting everything. So there's not a ton you can do there. If he's not as hot, it's not as big an issue. But I mean, they put that to rest pretty early. So I wouldn't say concern. It's just, are you going to drag this out and have to, play them into the, deep into the third, into the fourth quarter? Or are you going to do what you're supposed to do and put this game away, by halftime or early third quarter, and then just do what you did? And they did. So there wasn't much concern. One thing we talked about was the vibe and the crowd surrounding this team. And I think you asked
It's
Peyton
crazy
Pritchard
down
about
here.
it. I'm gonna play a soundbite from Pritchard, I think, about like what it was like kind of playing in this weird dead ass arena.
That should never be a problem, especially with our group. We love to play basketball, so there could be nobody in the gym and we'd want to hoop. So I mean, that's the mindset I take at least, and I feel like everybody in here just wants to play ball, so it should never be a problem.
What is like the key to creating your own energy?
Just coming in ready to compete. We go into practice and play 5-on-5. We're gonna all play hard, and nobody's there watching. So even if it's an empty arena, we're gonna come in and play hard.
So I mean, it looked bad. What was going on there?
Yeah, nobody showed up, and usually at the height of excitement in a season, there'll be enough Celtics fans in the crowd.
It was their season opener against the defending champs. You're not showing up for this one. Which game are they going to?
Did they just
Right.
not like?
It's only
advertise
downhill from
enough
here,
for it or
right?
something?
Which game are you going to if not this one?
Was it the traffic, Bobby? People couldn't get there in time.
This was the famous traffic arena, the infamous.
And who spilled the friggin' beers?
Yeah,
There was the ref. I didn't see it, but the ref ran
The
into
ref
the guy.
spilled 2 trays
the
of
refs were
beers.
drunk, man.
Yeah, he bumped the attendant or server, whatever you want to call him over there. Tray full of beers just pummeled to the floor. I thought he just dropped right out of his hands when I saw it, which would have been like, what the hell?
It was the ref.
It was the ref, yeah. And then a second one spilled later.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened on that one. That was a fan, I think.
It was the same spot, though.
You can't ban the fans. I mean, they can't get enough.
Maybe it was part of the plan, Jason Kidd style.
Oh, true.
Maybe, I don't know. Bobby, I want a little bit more of your takes here on what we saw tonight. We want to tell you about a couple more sponsors before we get out of here. Built. Jimmy loves this. He loves himself.
Where my renters?
Where my renters at? The Built. You know about it. It's a better way to deal with paying your rent, which you have no choice but to pay it, right? You're paying it no matter what.
You got to pay it. Yeah, I've found that out.
You got to pay it. But what you do is you're stuck in that loop, watch the money vanish, turn it around, start earning serious rewards. That's where Built comes in. Figured out a way to make rent more rewarding. Say goodbye to the money bonfire. Hello to Renters Revolution with Built. Breaking ground as a neighborhood rewards program hooks you up with points on your rent every month. Pay your rent and watch. There's honestly no reason not to do this. For real. Check it out. Pay your rent, watch the Built points roll in, use the points to jet off on a dream vacation, put them towards a flight or a hotel stay. 500 plus airlines are on board. 700,000 hotels are part of this program. Studio fitness classes, redeem them towards future rent payments. Why not do that? And again, there's literally no downside to this. So you can also pay rent free through the Built Rewards app. So again, earn points by paying rent right now when you go to joinbuilt.com/garden. That's joinbilt.com/garden. Make sure to use our URL so they know that we sent you. Joinbuilt.com/garden to start earning your rental points today. Also, we got to tell you about Nutrafol.
Of course.
We do. And again, #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1 million people. Thicker, stronger, faster growing hair, less shedding, 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. It's a physician formulated product, 100% drug-free ingredients, supports healthy hair growth
from within by targeting key root causes of thinning, stress, hormones, aging, nutrition, lifestyle, metabolism through whole body health. So make sure you check it out. Get results so you can run your fingers through for a limited time. Nutrafol offering listeners of the Garden Report $10 off their first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and you enter the promo code GARDEN. Find out why over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo GARDEN. That is Nutrafol.com, promo GARDEN. And yeah, why are we so full here?
I just
Jeez
did that.
Louise,
I just
don't
did
do
that.
that. Don't
Dude,
do
you
that.
had built up the whole time. I did you a
That's where
freaking
Ahmed's
favor.
supposed to come in.
Well, he's sleeping, so I had to take panic mode. I just tossed this thing up.
Oh my God, I don't even know how to get us back.
All right, here you go.
Jeez
I gotta
Louise.
do everything now.
I thought
Dude,
Ahmed was there, so I just
freaking-
went and I did my reading. The last thing we're going to tell you about, you're going to check it out here, is this giveaway, this getaway giveaway.
There you go.
At the Garden, PS5, NBA 2K25, and a Jason Tatum autographed basketball. All yours when you enter our contest at clnsmedia.com/contest and secret code time.
Yeah, don't even say it. Don't even say it.
Do you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, I need to tell it to the people listening on podcast
Yeah,
audio. It is Garden 25. That's 25,000 extra ticket entries at clnsmedia.com/contest when you go to Garden 20, when you enter Garden 25. So go in, check it out. There's a bunch of different ways to enter, a bunch of different, to get a lot of different entries into it. The more entries you have, the better chance you have to win. Once again, check it out. clnsmedia.com/contest. Use that code GARDEN25. Bobby, why did we send you to this game?
That's a good question.
For fun.
For fun. At least he admitted it.
Did you have fun?
Oh, I had a ton of fun. And I'm sticking around.
Oh, wow. He's hanging out for a bit. Are you going to party with Jalen tonight? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, no comment.
What, you got some,
But
you got
the one
some-
great
some
thing,
people you know in the area? Is that what's going on?
one great thing we did get out of this, and we got it queued up. Jason Tatum.
I got
talking
it.
about
You
his
want it?
MVP push. Yeah, let's hear
So
it.
I cannot believe, by the way, we are in game 2 and Noah's already talking about whether Keita can earn playoff minutes. And we're talking about, you're not wrong. I'm saying that's what we're thinking. We're looking months ahead.
It's
and
time.
We're already talking about whether Jason Tatum
Resting
is
Al.
making an MVP push after 2 games, which of course at this point, if the season ends today, Jason Tatum is your MVP. But he was asked about what it would mean to him. I can't believe this is what we're doing, Bobby. Is this what we're
Who
doing?
asked?
Some
You don't
guys-
have to answer
Jason,
that.
I'm pretty sure championships matter, so you want to win more. As an individual, how important is MVP to you?
I think just as a kid, you set a lot of goals for yourself. And I've been very fortunate enough to check off a lot of boxes of things that I wanted to accomplish, things that my favorite players accomplished. And, you know, saying that MVP is important to me is not in the way like taken away from the success of our team. Every guy that's ever won MVP has been on a championship contending team. If you're an MVP, you're dominating, you're efficient, you're playing the right way, and you're impacting winning. So you can do both. Championship is the most important.
Sounds
but,
rehearsed.
You know, being the best version of yourself along the way is important as well.
Given the length of your season last year, playing in the Olympics, where did you find the time? How did you find the time to work on your game, you know, that you might normally do?
You know, after the Olympics, I took some time off, and then a few weeks before training camp, and I think I had a really, really good training camp as an individual, working on my body, working on my conditioning, and you know, as a teammate, I feel like we had a really great training camp, preseason games, and then, you know, those practice days.
Who's asking those questions?
Might have been a Wizards reporter.
Yeah, I think it was someone DC, but
I didn't recognize it.
that surprised me because last handful of times Tatum got that question, he went, "Yeah, MVP doesn't matter. We're just trying to win." Now it's shifting back toward, "Yeah, it matters to me. We're gonna try to win, but
I feel like
it's
this is a
important."
version of the same thing he's said 100 times before.
Yeah.
No, I think
He's a little more
pushed
direct
MVP
about
to the
it.
side last year, completely.
Yeah, I would agree with Bobby. He's like actually answering to it and stating that it's something that he wants, and he's
I think it's
justifying
obviously
wanting it.
important to him.
Well, he's justifying wanting it by saying, just because I want it doesn't mean I don't want to be a team player. Doesn't mean I don't want to win. Doesn't mean I don't have, winning a championship first. It's just like, yeah, if I win the MVP, it means that I'm the best version of myself and our team is winning and we're contenders and all those things. So he can justify saying, yeah, I want to be the MVP by saying all those other things, which is fine. And you know what? Every guy should want to be the MVP as long as it doesn't make their game selfish and make it about them. But if they're playing with that mentality of what the MVP should stand for, then I have no problem with it.
And that's the challenge because, as we saw with Embiid a couple years ago, and Jokic is just in a world of his own in terms of how he balances the team winning with stuff in those stats because he's the center of their universe. Tatum's in that tricky spot here where he does actually have to balance it with his style. And I forget which one you said it, but it's going to require him pressing a little bit to be in that conversation. I don't think he can play the balanced, laid back team style that he did last year unless it's just leading to droves of assists.
Right.
While winning the MVP, because so much of it's stats, so much of it is the enormous individual output that the Lukas and Jokic's and Giannis's of the world are putting out there, that he's getting to that point where it's like, all right, he's going to have 25 every night. He's going to have 10 more or less every night. And that assist total probably will tick up to 5-6 this year. But, when Jokic is at like 8-9, when Luka's in that area and Giannis is probably going to have some monstrous totals as well, it's like he's just on the outside of that. So, what will it take? Will it take having 30 a game again because he's hitting so many threes? Will it take some defensive uptick? There's got to be a way for him to get there. But the challenge is there's going to be so many nights again, it feels like, especially in what that answer shows there, where it's going to be about him giving up the ball and, setting Brown up to do what he needs to do. This game, again, Brown took over for a stretch there, and Tatum went on one of those great shooting stretches in this game, but then he ends 3 for 11 here. And, that's probably going to take that percentage down a little bit.
It's going to have to be the other thing is there's going to be games where he's not even going to really be playing in the fourth quarter. Like,
yeah, this one again, he doesn't have to play a minute in the fourth quarter.
Right, so he has to do a lot of this stat stuff anyways in the first 3 quarters if it's going to be situations of 15, 20-point games. And I'm not saying it's going to happen all the time, but we're 2 games in here, and if this team plays the way that they're capable of playing, there are going to be a lot of nights where he's not going to be in a crunch time. I said it off the beginning of the show, like, how many crunch time situations are we going to see this year from this team? Yeah, there will be some, but you're not talking about a team that's going to find itself clawing back from double-digit, deficit in the fourth quarter, or in all these tight games. It'd be nice to have a few just for interest, but I think more often than not, you're going to get games like the first 2 that we had. So
what's it going to take?
People have to pay attention. People have to pay attention to him.
What's it going to take for him to do it?
I think a second year of Celtics dominance knocks him up a couple of notches beyond what his stats would give you. So, I think similar stats to what he's been getting with a slight tick up in whether it's the secondary numbers like assists or whatever, and or slightly higher efficiency, which again, he's pretty efficient last year. Is about 48, 38 shooting wise. So it's not inefficient by any means. His true shooting again above 60 for the second year in a row. So he's not one of those volume scoring guys really at all. And he never has been. So I don't know what more you're looking for other than I think just kind of the perception to change a little bit. And I think he might get I think another season of the Celtics ripping through the NBA, it will just up his overall
More
MVP
highlights.
stature.
More highlights of
You
him.
know
Like,
what?
some of these shots he's hitting.
Yeah, like
the
I don't
first
even
few
think
games.
yeah, it also might be sometimes it's just relative to the competition. Like when you have like guys like Jokic putting up these ridiculous statistical years, or like last year, Luka, offensively was just on another planet with what he was able to do and with his 3-point shooting as well. When those guys do that, it does make it harder because you're looking at like a really complete, well-rounded player, and then but also like, look at this insane stat line that this guy has. So you end up losing to a monster stat line like Embiid the year he won MVP, or even what he was tracking to last year. It makes it tougher, but at some point people have to kind of wake up to it and be like, gee, to put up his numbers on a team that's this good and have them go through the league and win 65, 68 games or whatever, I think that's going to change the perception a little bit there, where his stock goes up organically without having necessarily even to pump anything extra into his stats.
Yeah.
That's my vibe.
Yeah. The one thing I'll say is I don't think this is really a shift from what his previous stances were. Like, I think that in the past, when the race has gotten out of hand, like he's not in contention, that's when he's kind of been like, I really don't care much about this because it's like he's not in contention anyways. But over the summer, he did an interview where he said kind of a similar sentiment as what he said today. And he's somebody that's always made clear that he's paying attention to awards. He's been criticized for it, but he pays attention to that stuff. And the reality is, like, it is so political that I get why you answer in a certain way to keep yourself in the conversation. Like at the end of the day, so it's an award picked by the media, right? Like we go back a lot of times and look and like wonder why certain guys won and why certain guys didn't win. And so there's some strategy there too. I don't know that necessarily like what he's doing right now is involved in that, but like you have to think that that's a part of things too.
Look at what Jalen did last year. Jalen openly marketed for himself in a couple of different ways. I mean, knowing very well that he might take a step back, and he makes all NBA the year before in the All-Star team, scoring around 27 points per game, but recognizing that they're bringing in Holiday and they're bringing in Porzingis, and everyone, they're going to take a little slice of that pie. So his slice is going to be a teeny bit smaller, and I think he knew my stats aren't going to look as gaudy as they looked last year, so people have to know what it is that I do. And he started campaigning for himself early about, well, I'm out there playing defense every single day. He started his own all-defensive campaign. He kept talking about sacrifice, and there's no question that that was politicking, because it's, again, reminding the media, as Noah said, they're the ones who picked the award. Hey, I'm over here. Like, yeah, don't just go look at the top 15 scorers and fill out your ballot and see that my name's not up there anymore. Recognize what it is I'm doing and why I'm doing it in my complete package. I got to keep reminding you, like, hey, every once in a while, watch that I'm guarding the best player on the other team, and so, yeah, absolutely. There's a little bit of politicking involved with making people remember you're in the conversation. That being said, I don't think Jason Tatum needs to remind people that he's there. Like, he's always going to be front of mind in terms of the potential candidates. You're going to be looking at SGA, Luka, Jokic, and him right out of the gate as the people to start. Embiid's almost knocked himself out of contention at this point because he's just not going to play enough games, and it's almost been decided. So that's kind of your pool right there. And again, I think the Celtics have a historic season, or they just murder the competition again. I think it's harder to deny him if he has a good statistical season.
I think
give it a Luka. You can't give it a freaking Luka at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think about the field of guys that could be in this mix. All their teams might be taking a step back in terms of their success. Denver, I've hit hard on, and Dallas, we'll see what happens there with Clay, and the Bucks is certainly big potential for a drop off with them. Shea's the big one. Like, are they miles ahead of the West too? Are they almost as good as the Celtics? And he'll
This is a good point by DJ as well.
Too.
Storylines matter. And I think that Tatum has a compelling one in this case. He came in, NBA champ, disrespected the Olympics and this and that, and then doing this stuff kind of shows out a little bit like, oh, check out Tatum announcing his presence with authority. You think people haven't noticed? Absolutely. Like, there's a bunch of people who have votes who are already like, oh, geez, this might be Tatum's year. They've decided that's in their minds right now. There's no question about it. Like, doesn't mean it's not going to change over the course of the next 80 games. Of course, it might, but that seed's been planted firmly. And I think that offseason storyline and how he's responded these first 2 games out of the gate in such spectacular fashion, particularly opening night when they're the only show in town and everybody sees it, I think that makes a difference. So, yeah, the narratives matter, the storylines matter, the politicking matters, a lot of that stuff.
I think the team will get on board too. The team will get on board with it, and it will pick up.
Except Jalen.
Yeah, except Jalen. You're right.
I think the things he can do most directly.
And I was talking Jalen.
The shot holding up, that's going to be a big part of it. You're going to need, I think, 75 plus games. You're going to be balancing rest with him, but I think the total games, if he can get close to 82 and other guys are in like the 60s, 70s, that helps. And then the defense, can you start to rack up some of the defensive numbers, be in that mix, the conversation for all defense, and then you have that two-way case as well? Because I don't think statistically he's been among the league's dominant defenders over the last couple of regular seasons here. So those things, and Joe said it before the game, like impacting every area, like he can put up monstrous rebound numbers, and that's going to help them. The assists, we know those are going to go up this year, and the shooting especially. Can you maintain that steady like 37, 38, or even push that up to the point where, like you said, John, could be a step back for him in the scoring, but if the shooting's that much better this year, that balances out.
So far it's not, but yeah.
No. You know what else? Yeah. You know what else does it? The good old eye test. Me and John always say, if you have to give me 1,000 words on why Jason Tatum is actually good, you've already lost the argument. If I can just watch the game and see it, then that's
Are you seeing it so far?
Yes, of course. Any idiot can see it. So yes, I'm seeing it. But
that's the thing is, like, if you're not,
it's like the Derek White argument that me and John had, right, John? It's the same thing.
But so much of the Tatum.
Well, Derek White could get into this race.
At this rate,
so much of Tatum's thing is like when he's hitting the step back, jumpers, he looks a lot more impressive than when he's not. When he's not, like, you see those numbers in those box scores, and you're like, Jesus, 2 of 11 from 3. Like, he's just laying brick. Oh, and a bunch of free throws, and that's unspectacular. As you said, the eye test does matter with Tatum. Like, it looked. His scoring seemed effortful last year instead of like just check me out. Like he had Sar spinning. Today, that kind of stuff people remember. It's like, oh geez, he's got these guys on skates right now. That stuff matters. The aesthetics definitely matter a little bit. So when he's hitting those, it's kind of like everyone can go home. There's no reason to even play. You can't defend this. And that stuff looks a lot better. I think the contested twos and those pull-ups leaving him the last 2 years actually did hurt him a little bit. Or just not hitting them in the same kind of like deadly efficiency that he was hitting them before. Even though you look at the numbers at the end of the day, you're like, these are frigging spectacular numbers, so it definitely matters.
Yeah, and so much of his scoring is going to come from shooting, unfortunately.
Thanks,
and that just leaves room for variance. And he's done a good job of maintaining it through a couple games here and certainly the preseason. But you look again here, 11 out of those 20 shots coming from 3. You understand why they're doing it. And go back to team success over individual success. But that will make it difficult to maintain a high 3-point percentage, which, for him, despite all these areas where he impacts the game here, sometimes you do look up at the end of the day and you're like, all right, did he shoot well from 3? Huge Tatum night. Did he go cold from 3? Oh, Tatum was off in this one.
Yeah. Before we wrap, leftover thoughts, Noah, anything on today we didn't hit on that you were somewhat interested in?
I was hoping I'd have some end of bench agenda to push, but they really gave me nothing to work with. I was hoping we'd have some rough. JD Davison flashes, maybe Jaden Springer, but yeah, it was kind of rough across the board. They needed like somebody more experienced out there with them, like a Pritchard kind of running the show. So those minutes were left a little to be desired. So we'll see if those improve. I don't think we're going to see those guys all too often. Like some of those guys are going to go to Maine soon. They have camp starting next week, so they'll be out of town. But that was the one thing I left a tiny bit unsatisfied with. But you have to be encouraged across the board from just like they played okay and they blew them out. That's kind of the main story here, I think.
Business-like.
Yeah, I don't have anything. I don't have anything to add that we haven't talked about because this game went exactly, I think, how everybody thought it would. A 20-point win over a team that has no business being in the playoff contention and against the Celtics team that, this is just like they're like Wizards are like roadkill. They're like just driving down the highway and they just boom boom and just keep going. That's kind of like what this game was.
Yeah.
Yeah. What White's doing right now is pretty exciting. And you're going to start to think about All-Star with him. I see some people saying in the chat, if he's shooting like this, if he's playing like this all around, that there was a fringe case last year that fizzled a little bit as he went through a slump closer to the voting concluding last year. But if this team's a million miles ahead of everybody, there'll be a strong case for 3 guys there. And he should get there, I think. I think he will. And Pritchard, bounce back
Another
game.
narrative.
I think that's important. I think that's
That's
important.
a good point, Bobby. I think they're going to get 3 All-Stars this year. If they continue the winning levels that we saw from last season and what we're seeing early on here, they're going to be one of those teams that warrants 3 All-Stars. And then I think he is that third guy. So I think that's going to be a thing moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Pritchard.
Love it. We're going to start a couple narratives on the show.
You know what you need? You know what the All-Star game needs? NHL did this a while back, and I don't know if they stopped doing it. It was kind of like a coach's selection, which was like an off-the-grid guy who's not like one of those statistical, freaks that gets in just simply because, like, how can you leave this guy off? So there is a home for the Derek Whites and the Drew Holidays of the world without them necessarily having to put up gaudy statistics because they do all the dirty work and, like where Draymond Green should be able to make all-star games, on the strength of just, his other contributions that don't stack up.
I mean, if Derek White can make Team USA, he should be able to make.
But it's like, he's got juice coming in off of Team USA stuff as well. And so does Holiday. So, I mean, lots of like after 2 games and it's good that there wasn't a letdown tonight. We've got Detroit coming up on Saturday, and we'll be back covering that as well. We're going to tell you one last time about what you can win, and it's so many cool things. You can win with a CLNS Media giveaways. The last time we're going to tell you about this, so get in on the action. Please go sign up right now. A PlayStation 5, NBA 2K, video game and a signed Jason Tatum basketball, winner take all. There will be a couple of consolation prizes as well. It might feature some CLNS Media merch and some other stuff, but go check it out. CLNSmedia.com/contest. And the special secret code is Garden25. You get 25,000 extra additional ticket entries. Again, go to CLNSmedia.com/garden. Speaking of CLNS Media merch, I don't know if this is the code, Jimmy. Did we fix it?
It's not. It says valid until August 31st, so it can't be the code. We need a new lower third.
Only someone was in charge of this.
I'm not in charge of the codes, or maybe I am. I need to put a new code up.
We need to go over your job description.
We're gonna update the code for Saturday. Everyone's gonna have a new code, but there's plenty of gear. There's still plenty of gear available. That's for sure. That I know of. Green hard hats, white hard hats, phenomenal tees, Garden Report tees. Although we might have to change the logo now on the Garden Report, so we got to talk to our logo guy, Amit. And
Noah doesn't want to be on a t-shirt.
Yeah, she does. We need her on a t-shirt in order to sell a couple of these things.
You got Joe Sway on there now.
We got mugs. We got a bunch of stuff.
Just draw a blonde wig on Joe Sway. And
one thing that we are going to be doing, and it's not up yet, but winter is coming. We're going to probably toss some beanies up, maybe a sweatshirt option too. Mix things up there. So for the cold weather.
I'm still waiting for a cornet one.
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk about that. We don't know what to say about him anymore. He's not your third center. Every day it's
he will be eventually. Yeah, it is something different every day. Now if Kata supplants him, maybe he does move back to 3. I don't know.
Oh, Bobby, are you okay? Are you
Bobby, what happened? What happened to you in DC?
What happened? What's going on,
your
buddy?
Third center. I'm leaving open the possibility for anything.
Smart. You don't
by the way, Jimmy said earlier.
I feel like you're hedging right now. Like, do you know something? Is everything all right?
No. I still
Bobby
have
knows
the most
everything.
confidence in Luke.
Of course you do.
But shout out to Keita, who I think made a really good impression here. It's just I wish he could really hammer home the defense. There were a few moments tonight where I'm like, all right, like he's got something going there, and then it's the fouling, and then it's him just looking kind of scrambled and lost on that side. And you know how it goes with their system here. Like they don't want guys who aren't in good positioning defensively. So we'll see what happens there. It was pretty cool seeing all 4 of those guys in the mix here today. And, Jimmy said earlier, like, when are we going to see this team play a close game? I don't think it's going to be Saturday, although I like some things I saw from Detroit yesterday.
They could be
I'm
sneaky.
looking ahead to could be sneaky, but they fell apart at the end of that last game. So I don't think it's going to be Detroit. Next week, it's like Milwaukee, Indiana, a couple Charlotte games, and I'm super high on Charlotte.
Grant.
How many close games do we see there? That's where I think we'll finally maybe get 1 or 2 at least.
Indy. Give me Indy. I need to feel something. I need one of these teams to compete. I need Indy to like be tough.
Couple more teams that are fast, physical. They've smoked Milwaukee the last couple times.
Yeah,
we're gonna have to get.
I feel really bad about the Wiseman thing.
Yeah, that sucked
Yeah.
to see.
He started playing. He was playing well there. Yeah.
Any concern about Hauser, John? Real quick before we get out of here.
No, it's game 2. They could go 40 games without him, and they'll be fine. Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's. What did they say it was?
Did you seem concerned from talking to him?
He said he slept weird, but he's had back issues going back to the summer, so it's not nothing.
It's not nothing. When he needs a new bed. Maybe he needs a new.
Did he seem worried?
No worry.
Oh, here we go.
Let's put it in like the second green.
Wait, who's the first guy?
That's handsome
Bobby. That's Bobby.
That's Bobby?
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you trying to say?
The new panic meter is going to need. I think Noah's going to have to be at the front of the panic meter now.
Like I'm panicked or I'm not panicked?
No, you're the least panicked.
Least panicked.
Okay. I was just making sure.
I was so unpanicked by anything last year, but I'm always stuck on it, right? Like I'm always the guy.
Bobby's kind of
on
panicking
the far
now.
right.
Yeah.
I don't pay. Last year everyone wanted me to rage after losses. I'm like, it's fine. I didn't.
I love this one.
We tried.
Jimmy was annoyed. Jimmy was like, "What's wrong with this guy?" I'm like, "It's fine. Who cares? They're going to the finals. Just shut up."
I'm just trying to get us fired up for something.
I know. I couldn't. I don't fake it. I don't manufacture it.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I was like, whatever. They're fine. I was like, it's fine.
Sometimes I have to.
You don't care that they played like shit, John? I'm like, no.
Get myself right.
I did start to panic more last year. I'm actually trying to not panic at all this year.
Good.
Well, you guys are fun. Fine, I'll be the panic guy.
I couldn't muster it.
I just feel like we're watching history. Like
I was never panicked. Yeah.
No, I feel like we have to savor this moment that we get to cover a team that's like historically dominant and that just plays such like egalitarian basketball. So for me, it's like I'm gonna panic if something like terrible happens. But other than that, I feel like we have the context.
Yeah,
of
I wonder
knowing
what the first Noah panic moment will be.
If someone gets seriously hurt, that's when I'll panic. Like I was panicking about Wiseman.
That would be good.
Like, you haven't seen me about injuries.
But everybody would panic over something like that. I mean, you have to in order to experience true panic in the sense we're talking about, you have to see something and it worry you so much that you're like, I don't like that.
I have one.
Yeah.
If Joe starts turning on the guys in press conferences, that would be a red flag to me. Because I feel like that's something that he never does, that he'll never do. It's like a line for him that he just knows he's going to handle things behind the scenes. And so if there was like a change in policy there where all of a sudden he started like ripping the players the way that like Michael Malone does, that would be like trouble in paradise. So it'd have to be something like,
If he calls the Celtics soft.
Yeah.
More than, like that kind of thing. Like I would be rad. Imagine sitting in a press conference and Joe was like tearing apart Tatum. Like I can't even imagine.
Mine would be the if they
kind of get bored to the point that they go straight up individual. Like if it turns into Tatum and Brown freestyling and playing my turn, your turn basketball instead of what they're doing now with the movement and the flow, if they get away from that because they're either bored or some guys are like, next possession we'll pass the ball, but I'm going to get mine on this one. If we start to see more of that, that's the thing that will that's the thing that will raise my concern level, because it's that whole like flipping the switch thing. I think if you play with bad habits and they let any bad habits creep in because they are a little bit bored, it doesn't always flip back over. We've seen that before. I think you do have to, like, I don't know necessarily in a maniacal Joe sort of way, like the way he wants him to play all the time, but I do think you have to kind of stay with the process the whole way through and legitimately not care about MVPs and stats and bullshit like that, or get caught up in anything, or just get a little bit bored and decide you're going to freestyle it. Like, you're not going to give plus effort every single night through all 82, and that's understandable. But I don't want to see them get away from this style of play, because this is the best part about it, is how connected they are both offensively and defensively. And if they start to stray a little bit from that, I'll get annoyed. That's mine.
Yeah.
That's mine.
Probably fair. Yeah. I don't think any they'd have to, like, are they going to lose 3 games in a row this year? Like, I would be stunned. Like, and even then, you're not going to panic because you're like, well, they're still 20 games or whatever it is over 500, and they're the 1 seed or the 2 seed or whatever. So I don't know. It's hard, but we'll manufacture something. It's a long season. Something will come up.
Luke's panicked.
Luke is, yeah.
He's panicked.
Yeah,
anyway, he's gone. He's so upset he's gone. That's it.
We lost.
He's gonna go mend fences with Luke.
He's going to party.
He just lost his Wi-Fi.
That's Bobby kind of confused.
That's code for my limo just pulled up. Okay, so Bobby's out of here, and that's fine. So we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you again to Noa Dalzell. Make sure you read her stuff over on Celtics blog and follow everything she does for CLNS Media in terms of video on the post-game show, stuff after the game from the Garden, and of course her terrific podcast, We Got Boston, which drops daily. You Got Boston, which drops daily.
Damn
or
it,
almost
John.
daily?
On off days. I'm going on off days where we don't have the Garden reports, so people don't get sick of me.
So You Got Boston. You got it. You got it. So make sure you subscribe to that podcast wherever you go get your podcast. You can watch it. You can listen to it. Great show. Jimmy, you're not going to find him anywhere but here. So make sure you savor it. Okay.
Jimmy John podcast is still in the works.
Yeah. Savor the flavor when you get your chance. But we're back on Saturday. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you then.
Wait, Amit's got an outro for us, I think.
No, he doesn't.
He said he was going to work on an outro.
He had a phenomenal game.
Phenomenal.
Forfeit's out. I think it's an auction.
That did not sound like a chair.
It was a freaking chair. It does sound like a chair.